This time on Impavidus, a few tips and tricks on servicing our outboard. The first thing you'll need is you're going to need your owner's manual. We have a Yamaha F6C 4-stroke. There's a few things that you need to pay particular attention to, like the grade of your oil, according to the climate where you generally use your engine. The next thing you need to know is what the spark plug is, because you're going to change that, aren't you? You'll also need a way of flushing the engine, either with earmuffs or with a dedicated tool. You'll also need to go carefully through the schedules of maintenance and decide what it is you're actually going to perform. And we don't use the earmuff type flushing tool on our engine. We simply took an M6 bolt and drilled the centre out of it so that it fits into the flushing hole. This way we can attach a hose pipe to it. Simple. We always start by cleaning the engine off with warm soapy water to get rid of all the salt deposits all over the engine. This includes removing the hood or cover and washing that as well, both inside and out. Make sure that you get to all those hard to get to areas, up under the base of the engine and around its mounting brackets, etc. It's really important. If you have hydrofoils, then it's a good idea to take them off and clean behind them as well. Once you've done this, you can then carefully remove the propeller. Pay particular attention to the order in which the washers, the propeller, the cotter pins and the spinner cone come off. This is covered in your manual though. Check and clean all the parts that you've removed and then put them in the table in the order you took them off. So your manual will show you the order in which the pieces go on or come off, and you should replace the cotter pin in part number 1 whenever you do this. If you've got barnacles or sea growth on any parts of the lower engine where it's been in the water, you can use muric acid to clean them off. You should really wear gloves for this. So before the health and safety police come round and arrest me, yeah, I know, I'm not wearing gloves and I've got short trousers on. I also use muric acid on the lower part of the leg. It just saves a lot of hard work. It doesn't damage the paintwork. Just rinse it off afterwards. Be sure you rinse it off. David on our buddy boat Eternity has the same engine, so I decided to watch what we were doing.
That's your adapter.
Our adapter.
Excellent.
A 6mm bolt with a hole in it. What I'm going to do is that's it. The next thing to do is to flush the engine through with clean water and bring it up to temperature. No. It's ticking over a little bit fast, but that's nice and warm now. I'm going to let the
Oil drain down.
There it is, at the back there. That's the drain plug.
Ah, yeah.
The one with the little copper washer on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
then it's going to fall in through the casing. Isn't it?
Yeah, and we'd have to go in through there. So all we'll do is we'll put our suction
down it. Yep.
Going to take the oil out without making a mess. Okay, David, do you want to pump away?
I do.
Use
I'm the apprentice.
your Johnny's in his fanny, so to speak.
Yes. My uncle used to be her chauffeur.
Really?
Yeah. My uncle Chris was Fanny Craddock's chauffeur.
Yeah.
Small world, eh? I think that's it.
Happy with that? Try a bit more?
Yeah, let's try a little bit more, see if I can get... Okay. Right, so we've got the grade of oil suggested, and what I'm
15W40.
15W40, and what I'm going to do...
Hold on, I've got just the thing for that.
I'm just going to pour...
You pour it gently though, because I haven't quite got the angle of dangle.
So I'm not filling it up, all I'm doing is just going to flush out the bottom while the engine's still warm.
Yep.
Okay.
Tell me when.
Okay. So any muck or dirt or dirty oil that we couldn't get
It's now coming out.
is now coming out.
Between the two marks.
It's between the top
Yeah.
and the bottom mark.
Which it is.
Don't know if you can see that on the camera.
That's about right.
It's about right.
Well, it should be, that's what it says in the manual.
While we've got the spark plug out, we'll replace that.
Have you not checked the gap?
They're preset,
Alright.
so they set them in the factory.
Yes.
What they do is you have a little cardboard tube,
Yeah.
so that in transit the end of the
Thing is protected.
protected,
I wondered what that tube was for.
and it's an aluminium head, so just the tiniest kind of pinch. I think it's 13 Newton meters, but there's a little compression washer on the
Spark plug when delivered.
spark plug.
Yeah.
You see how it's like two washers together?
Yeah, yeah.
See that on there?
Yeah.
So what happens is that compresses and gives you... That's fine.
Okay.
So we'll keep that spark plug as a spare.
Yeah.
So there's two little screws, and they're normally pretty tight. But you get this crescent wrench on there. There we go.
Now I've got something to catch it in.
I'll grab the bucket.
Where's the bucket?
In the big. So the top one there is basically where you fill it to, the oil level.
Oh right.
So at the moment it's full of oil to here.
Yeah. Oh, it's the bottom one.
And the bottom one is the one.
Let me just hold the trestle.
Just a gentle tap.
That's the one that's it. Well done.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is do the same, flush it through with the gear oil.
Which is on the boat.
But just for this, what we're going to do is you're going to flush it through, so that any gump again comes out. I'm just going to put the clean oil. The nozzle's not long enough.
Okay.
Hang on. It's M8, the same size as the...
Yeah, but will you be able to get it through the small hole?
There we go. And then we just put the oil in until it comes out of there.
Are the capillaries wide enough just for gravity to work?
Yeah. There we go.
I mean, you can't overfill it, can you? So.
No. Right. So I've got to do two things fairly quickly. One is to put that
back
in there.
You ready?
Yeah.
Come on. It's not moving. It's not moving. Oh, it is now. You ready?
Go.
Go.
There's only
linkages and cables.
Yeah, so you've got push-pull on the throttle.
Yeah.
Then you've got the carburetor actuation arm.
Yeah.
And the spring.
Yeah.
And then this is the choke cable. So that's the only things in there. This one here is, put a little bit on that, but that's an interlock for the gear.
Yeah.
So when you put that in gear,
I was going to say, where does the
what that does, if it's in forward or reverse, it stops you from pulling the
yes, the starter wire.
That's that job done. So the next thing is our throttle cable and our tilt linkage, etc. So in the bottom, if I turn it around that way, on the underside of there is that throttle cable.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wipe off the old grease again.
Yeah.
Again, you don't need loads.
And you'd pay what, 250 quid for this service at a Yamaha dealer in the winter, and you can do it yourself.
You can
if
do
you have
it
the confidence.
all yourself. Yeah, it's just going through. Read the manual, obviously, but then just work on things. Well, I always go oil and the oils first, and then work my way down the engine. So that's the top done. Next thing is there's a fuel filter in here, David. I don't know if you can see that.
Is that an inline filter? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two. There's one in our remote tank and one for this little tank. And this is the bulblet.
Yeah. You can see it pulling the fuel through. Yeah.
But because it's clear, you can see that it's nice and clean. But should you need to take that fuel filter out,
and when you say fuel filter, it's presumably just a simple mesh, just an inline mesh thing.
Yeah, it's. Do
you buy that whole unit, or do you just buy
the whole unit? Yeah. And what you can do is that unclips, and then you turn the fuel filter. Yeah. The two pieces come apart, and then you can just clean it out. Yeah. But you know how particular we are with fuel. Yeah.
Now we're going to leave this full over winter.
Going to leave it full over winter.
But drain the carb.
Drain the carburetor. So what we'll do is, once we've finished lubricating everything else, we'll start it up. Then we'll turn the fuel off.
Yeah. And run the carburetor dry.
Run the carburetor dry.
Yeah.
And this is the carburetor here. Yeah. And at the bottom there.
Yeah. There's a little drain screw.
There's a little drain screw.
So you don't actually have to run it dry. You can drain it from there. But
you can, but I like to suck everything out
of the pipes.
Out of the pipes.
So you don't get any sort of crystalline in the pipes or anything.
Exactly. So under here, there's a couple of springs that hold that ratchet in place.
Yep. You need a bit of grease
and some pins.
Yep.
And there's I don't know if you can see it. There's a grease nipple there.
Yeah. Which
is for the gear.
And have you got your grease gun with you?
I've got my grease gun with me. It's in the toolbox. Right, so that's cleaned off. Now this
It says specifically in the manual that you need to do that, which is the engine lock.
Yep.
To stop it swinging when you try this on the dinghy. But you don't know if you grease it through the holes whether there's already any dust in there or grit in there.
Well, I'm going to show you a trick. Before we put that clean one back in, if you can hold that, what I'm going to do,
blast it through,
is do that. And now it's coming out that
the hole that this
that goes into.
So you would hope that that's got rid of any grit and stuff.
It's just flushed it out.
Yep. Top tip, Ant.
Top tip. All the things I've seen over the years, probably the most damaging is people greasing things up and not cleaning
them out, so leaving the grit in there, and then
it goes round in the bearing, scores the bearing, and then
you've got a big job.
So then we're going to do all of those that I've just cleaned, and then we'll go back and do the grease nipple. Right, the next thing I want to do while I've got a piece of rag here is just to clean off this shaft with some WD, because I'm
use this as well, because this is an oil rag.
And the only reason we've taken that off is so that while we've got it out,
you're not spraying water everywhere.
If
cutting your legs.
Or cutting your
Where's the anode?
Right, the anode is that piece of metal there.
Right, and that looks about 7/8 still there.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
That's all right.
So all of the grease points that we've mentioned here are covered in the Yamaha manual. Your manual should cover your engine as well if it's a good one. Grease nipple there, David, with the
grease gun.
with Grandad's trusty grease gun, and the grease has come out of the ball and the indents there, so there's plenty around that. And then we've cleaned off the bracket screws with WD-40 and just grease those. That's those bits there. So the last thing we've got to do is to clean this off with WD-40, which I've just done, and then put the propeller back on.
Got to grease the spline.
We grease the spline, and put that back on.
And there's a bearing in there, is there?
There's an oil seal, a lip seal in there. And there's a bearing at the back here, and a bearing at the front, and then there's two helical cut gears in here which change the rotary motion from vertical to horizontal.
And they're lubricated by the oil that we've put in here.
The oil that we've put in here.
Because there's the drain plug.
That's
that's all full of oil, so that's lubricating those.
And the whole point of pushing that oil up, rather than filling it from the top, is that's really viscous, that oil. It's EP90. What happens is if you fill it from the top, you may not fill the whole gearbox.
And then you've got an air block in there or something?
Then the air gets hot and expands. And it doesn't need to get very warm to do that.
And then start damaging the seals.
It will then blow the seals out the back here. So
we've still got to change. That's the wash plug. We've got a plug for that.
We've got a plug for that on the bench. So we just again, we don't go mad with grease. Just protect that. Like so.
Are we done?
That's it, done.
Turn this off? How do you turn the name?
You push. Hi folks, well I hope you've got something out of this video, a few tips and tricks. It's not the definitive way to do an engine service, but it's the way we do it. Fogging oil, we're not really fans of fogging oil. We prefer to put a teaspoon of clean oil down the bores and just turn the engine over, and that coats the rings and the bores with clean oil, and then the engine is okay for storage for 6 months or so. The other thing we were going to talk about was valve clearances and changing the impeller. Now, changing the impeller means that you actually have to disassemble the leg of the motor, and that's quite involved. And doing the valve clearances means you need to take the rocker box cover off. Now, that would take us another 20 minutes just to do a video on those two things. So when we do ours, we'll do that video and show you how we do that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Sail safe.